is up, everybody? Project Itachi here with my co-host Wardeners, back for another week of the GZ Chop Shop. And you know what? I'm gonna just be real with y'all for a minute. I'm gonna be real. I don't even know if music playing, but if the music playing, I'm gonna stop the music right now. I was supposed to be on a vacation this week. Wardeners and I, we agreed that we were going to take the week off. And the reason, before you guys get upset, I know we're your favorite podcast and you're like, what, week off? We're on a vacation for like a month. So January 31st was my birthday. And I was like, I already know Tuesday's going to come. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff happening in my life that's got me really, really busy. So I was like, I just need a day or two to just chill, you know, just focus on the stuff we already.
That's a vacation for us.
That's
1 or 2 days.
I just need like a day or two
of chilling. Catch up on an anime or something.
I was like, what's going to really pop off? It's the end of a month. Nothing's going to really happen within this day. So, you know, we'll skip the week for an episode. Sony. Obviously, you listened to the podcast because you were like, oh, no. You don't get to take off. We're making a play. And they did it on my birthday. Sony, you did me dirty. I just wanted one day off. And they knew that.
Itachi, you know, when I was at work when I got the news, and I remember the first thing I thought, because we just talked about taking the week off. We just talked about it that morning. And I remember seeing the headline of Sony purchasing Bungie for 3.9?
What was it? 3.9, 3.6. And it's
$1 billion. And yeah, $3.6 billion. And I remember thinking to myself, well, one, we're not taking the week off. Two,
we called it. We called it about 2 weeks ago. It
on even before that. When Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, we said this in the podcast. We said, okay, Sony's not going to let this fly. If you think for a second that Microsoft is going to make a move like this, and Sony's just going to go, It's no big deal. You're completely wrong. And you don't understand how this works.
You don't understand.
Because most of the gamers out there, most of the game industry watchers, people who keep up with tech, whatever. I used to be just like you guys. I used to also be biased towards my own console system or my favorite gaming system. I'd like, screw Sony or Microsoft won't do that. Like whatever side you're on. Okay.
Nope.
Don't think like that. You can't think like that, because at the very end of the day, you better believe that the competition is taking notes and going,
oh, it's fierce. Yep. And that.
Yeah. So we called it on that episode with Microsoft, Activision Blizzard at the beginning of the month. And then we called it more so Wild called it on the last episode from less than 2 weeks ago.
Actually, so for anyone who didn't listen to last week's episode, please go and check out that episode. It's a very informative episode titled The Content Creators Handbook. We had Wild for Games on, and it was extremely informative, and talk about someone like us who saw something coming beforehand. I'm gonna play this clip for you guys and just listen. This was from last week. This was before Sony even said anything, before anyone even realized they were going to do something. Just listen to the clip from last week's episode.
I'll tell you what we didn't predict was we did not see Microsoft come in and out of nowhere and buying Activision Blizzard.
Someone did. It's not the end, by the way. I will give you a prediction here without a rabbit hole. In the next 3 years, maybe 5 to give me some grace period there, Take-Two and Activision are publicly traded companies. I think both of those will be acquired by certain companies. And if I had to take a shot in the dark, I wouldn't be surprised if Facebook buys one of them because they need something for their metaverse and the Oculus. And we already knew last year that Netflix said they're going to get into the gaming space. Their gaming space will most likely be mobile, I would suggest, or I would guess. So I think they're going to buy a company called Skills, which is also a publicly traded company. So I have a feeling every publicly traded company right now will probably absorb in the next 3 to 5 years, because since Microsoft not acquired yet, it's still next month till they acquire it. Since they're acquiring Activision Blizzard, that makes all the other companies out there need to build a bigger catalog to compete.
That right there, that last part was the really critical part. Building up so they can compete. Because Microsoft has been a big shark in the gaming industry waters lately, and they've been snapping up these IPs left and right. They've been flaunting that big wallet of theirs and just snapping them up because they want a bigger cut of the gaming industry pie. And Sony is pretty much their opposite of this on the same coin. So when either one of them makes a big move, the other one responds in kind. That's just how it is. And Microsoft has been on an accelerated pace in scooping up these IPs. And they struck a very, I want to say, from a, for them, it was a business savvy, it's not going to affect the rest of the world blow. But in my opinion, when I looked at when they said, hey, we're taking Activision Blizzard off the board, it's ours now, I said, oh, that's a shot in the gut, because now Sony has to come to you for one of the biggest titles that comes out almost on a yearly basis, and you have control over it. Said everyone complains about it, but we all know Call of Duty sells whether people love it or hate it. And now Microsoft just took it. And of course they paint the pretty picture. Nothing's going to change. PlayStation, you guys still have access to it, et cetera, until those contracts run out, until those agreements run out. And they will run out. And the part we don't see is the new renegotiation when they come out and they say, all right, well, we're making the new Call of Duty. How much do you guys want to pay us for it to still be multi-platform? How are we going to work this out? So if anything, and I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, well, that wasn't going to affect Sony. It's actually going to hurt Microsoft more in the long run. It might hurt them in the beginning because they're going to lose some of that sales from the PlayStation community if they do hinder it. But eventually, if Wild's prediction becomes true and Activision becomes publicly traded, it won't matter, because then the stocks will just be all that Microsoft needs, whether Sony community buys it or not. Activision being its own thing, making its own money, and then having to give it to big daddy Microsoft would be like, yeah, whatever, we're sitting pretty whether the PlayStation community buys the game or not. And to prove that even Sony had to acknowledge the threat that big purchase had, they struck a decisive blow. They probably could have went for any other developer within that price range, because I know there's a few, but they went for Bungie. Bungie
is almost like slapping them in the face, because Bungie, anyone who's not super familiar with Bungie, when people think Bungie, they think Halo, because Bungie originally created Halo Combat Evolved. They were the original publishers of this game, or the gaming studio behind Halo. And then they broke off with, and Halo went with 343, and Bungie became its own thing. So it was almost like a slap in the face, like, oh, we'll take something that made you what you were. That's like a piece of their soul. And one of the biggest things that I've seen, just people talking about this on Twitter and Reddit and on social media, is not thinking that this is a big deal, because Microsoft spent so much more money, threw around so much more money to purchase Activision Blizzard. And I think what people don't understand is overall, if you compare Microsoft as a whole to Sony, Microsoft's net worth is much, much higher. So you ask the question, okay, if that's the case, how come Sony is still faring better than Microsoft in the gaming industry? That's not saying Microsoft's doing poorly at all. They're number 3 now. But the point is, you got to look at it like this. Microsoft as a whole is not just gaming. Most of their money, most of their investments come from computer programming. A very, very small portion of that is made from gaming. What's the numbers here? We put them together for you guys.
Valued at like 11.3 million, I think.
Yeah. Yes. So Microsoft's gaming revenue is approximately 11.39 billion a year. Compare that to Microsoft's net worth of $286 billion. Overall, above that, their capitalization altogether, like everything, not just net worth, like just everything, they're a $2.2 trillion company. Those are huge numbers. And you're like, okay, yeah, absolutely. Like Microsoft's winning. No, Microsoft's winning in computer programming. Microsoft is new to gaming. Microsoft, that 11.39 billion is nothing compared to Sony, because Sony is all tech and gaming. You look at Sony, their net worth is $143.12 billion. And you're like, okay, well, that's not as much as Microsoft. That's half as much as Microsoft, because again, all of that is tech and gaming.
And
so you can't just look at the numbers and go, oh, well, they're worth more or they have more money. No. They're making all of that money from gaming and their tech. They've been in this for a while. They've been doing this for a while and they're good at it. That's why they're on top right now. And that's why Microsoft's in a position, because they have so much money from everything else that they're already established in, to start buying up everything. They're purchasing everything because they can, not because they're doing the work themselves. Yeah. And I'm not saying that to poke fun at Microsoft. That's just what they're doing because they can do it. And from their standpoint, to get into gaming, well, what is Microsoft going to do? Make games on their own? No, they need studios, established studios. They have the money to purchase those established studios, especially studios that are hurting or are small or don't know any better, but they put out a good game and they're an indie company and then they just get bought out because they throw out some big numbers. Sony hasn't had to do that. Yes, they do purchase studios and they are now to compete with Microsoft, to let them, honestly, to my opinion, to let them know, like, you're not the only ones
we can do
around
this.
here that can do that. It was too quickly that they did that. It was definitely a flex, but Sony has been in this game for a while and they know what they're doing. They are gaming. They are tech.
And just to piggyback.
So don't just look at the numbers.
Also, what you were saying about, Sony having, a play in this game for longer than Microsoft technically. I know a lot of people, well, they had the computer. No, we're talking pretty much gaming. Like, they've had their neck in gaming for so much longer, because back in the heydays of consoles, there was the PS1, there was the Nintendo Entertainment System. What Microsoft console was there? There wasn't one. Microsoft didn't enter that console phase until the PS2 era. At this point, Sony was already established. They knew this is what we do. It's their brand, Sony Entertainment. That's what they do. So I feel what Microsoft does, and like you were saying, they've got the money to wave around. It's not their gaming funds that are paying this. This is their net worth that's paying for it. Whereas for Sony, I think it's what they're making off gaming that's helping them close these deals.
Which to me, when you look at it from that perspective, Sony spent 5 times more money than the amount that their actual gaming revenue brings in. So that, all that money came from everything else that's Microsoft outside of gaming. It's like me dipping into my other bank account that I have setting up that it's been saving for 20 years. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to invest over here. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that you got to look at all these different things to have a better understanding of why they're making these moves, what you might be able to consider next, especially when you're considering things like stocks and where you want to put your money. All of this stuff matters, and it's all very interesting. So you can't just look at the big, the one big number.
Gotta look at the bigger picture, because here's a question that I've been wondering. We all know Microsoft, it says they want a bigger cut of the gaming pie. Okay, but what's your end goal? What's your end game? Where are you going? And if you think you're sitting there like they just want a bigger cut. Okay, but what is this bigger slice? Because as far as we know, gaming has no end in sight. So when does it stop? When does it become a monopoly? What is Microsoft's goal? Because if you think about it, Microsoft wants to put as much stuff on Game Pass as they can to drive up the subscription numbers. And I see 2 sides of it. You offer this service at this affordable price, easy on the wallet. It's alluring to people, especially in times where money is hard to come by, but they still want to play their games, but they can't afford to buy a whole new game every month or week or whatever. So they go to Game Pass, and Game Pass is like, yeah, we've got the game for like $4 or $5 a month. You can have our entire library of games, to drive up their subscriptions and everything. But let's not forget that they also tried to buy a big gaming communication brand known as Discord. Let's not forget that, which they failed.
I'll never forget that. That was over the summer. What, was that Mayish? Was that about May last year or so?
And it's
for y'all listening, I'm sorry. It's around that time.
It's kind of gotten swept under the rug at this point that they failed. But I'm saying, hold up. Y'all might have forgot that Microsoft was over here not only trying to buy up gaming IPs, they bought Bethesda a few years ago. Then they were trying to scoop up a couple others. And then they went and turned their attention to Discord. I said, they are not just trying to expand their playing gaming. They're trying to own it. Now they were trying to set it where you had to go through them for gaming. They buy all your favorite publishers, all the well-known ones, buy them up. And they bought the more expensive ones because they knew they had the funds to do it. Because they knew, well, if we buy the more expensive ones, obviously that money now becomes our money. And those people have to come to us for those games. Then you turned your attention to Discord because it's a main means of communication in the PC market, which is the largest gaming market. They make up over 50% of the gaming market in general, just China alone. So they tried to scoop up Discord to control gaming communication. They failed with Discord.
And what happened days later after Discord said no to Microsoft? Because everyone was worried. Everyone's like, oh my God, like Discord is at that point, they could go public. They could sell out. They could keep doing what they're doing. And I remember we had a whole podcast about this, and we talked about Discord kind of doing like it should do its own thing and keep growing, because what they're doing for the community, I think right now is they're trying to do it for the community's benefit. Discord does not come across to me as a platform that's trying to impede anybody in any way. So what happened days later after they said no to Microsoft? It would be
awesome if YouTube and Discord would.
I said it would be so awesome if YouTube and Discord partnered together and did something, or if they worked with Sony. Days later, Sony entered into an agreement, a partnership
to test out things with YouTube.
things with YouTube. And I was like, and we haven't heard much about it since.
I think that's probably for the best, because then you're not getting people's hopes up. But
to me, that just says that they're working on something
Discord's
big.
very good at just dropping updates. They don't. Yeah,
they really do.
Like to advertise.
The day they bought the day Sony bought Bungie, I remember getting on Discord and seeing that little notification pop up out of nowhere. Would you like to connect your Discord to your PlayStation Network? And I was like, these motherfuckers. I just started laughing. I was like, that's too coincidental. Yeah. So I don't know. I just thought it was funny. I was like, really? But this whole thing is extremely exciting. I'm really curious what this is going to mean going forward for subscriptions. Game Pass. I know we talked about Bungie. I'm sorry, not Bungie. We talked about Activision Blizzard and their games and their subscriptions. I'm curious what we're going to see down the road. And then what this means for the games on Game Pass right now. Call of Duty's been a big one. I've been talking with people, reading things, and a lot of communities are talking about what does this mean for Call of Duty? And I'll tell you what it means for Call of Duty right now. Absolutely nothing. Someone the other day mentioned, Microsoft could just take Call of Duty right now away from Sony, away from multi-platform, and just as like a big FU, whatever. And I said, that's not what's going to happen. I said, these companies are competing. Absolutely. But they're not that's too dumb, because if you do that, if you do something like that and you say, okay, this game belongs to me now, I'm not going to share. All you're doing is hurting yourself, because that game is already established on multiple platforms. You're going to lose so much more money than you have anything to gain by keeping it only on your platform. And it makes you, honestly, it does. It makes you look bad. And there's a difference between healthy, I say healthy competition, and trying to just the word I would just use is just to be kind of scummy at this point.
Lie. I feel like this is like watching two kids start slowly building up to a fight in a schoolyard. Like, the console wars has been a thing. The console wars became a thing once Microsoft hit the scene. Honestly, I don't think there was really a console war between Sony and Nintendo, because Nintendo's always done their own thing. And because Nintendo does its own thing, people respect Nintendo because they just find it so funny that Nintendo just doesn't give a fuck.
I told people the other day, matter of fact, I think I reiterated it yesterday to someone else on Facebook. I said, Nintendo does not, it's not that they don't care. It's that this honestly doesn't affect them, because they have two huge things going for them. The biggest thing is that they have a platform that is full of nothing but nostalgia. Things like Mario and so on and so forth. They're established. Nobody's going to dispute that. And my second thing is the fact that they have their own thing. They're their own niche. I say niche, but they're their own brand, completely unique in their own way that nobody else can possibly measure up to.
That probably really works in Nintendo's favor. That shows that there's still a big market for it, even though, and this is where, in my opinion, even PlayStation and definitely Microsoft kind of lost their way in some regards. Nintendo still favors cooperative and single player games. They're not so focused on PvP, battle royale. Like, they have those games that have crossed over, but they do not do as well on their platform as their other games like Mario Party, Pokemon, Legend of Zelda. Just 2 days ago, the new Pokemon game, Legend of Arceus, came out. It's already skyrocketed to their number one seller. This shows people like the way Nintendo approaches games. Fun to play, not as stressful. Nostalgia
again.
I mean, you know, let's be honest. Most of the people that are playing Pokemon, they're our peers. Like, you come in and you want to just have a chill game. You pick up your Switch, you sit down, you play some Pokemon, and you can just do these things at your pace. Or you can hop on and play Call of Duty and raise your blood pressure 30 times over and walk away hating life. And, you know, so, and one thing is Microsoft is very focused on PvP. That's their bread and butter. They love that, you know, competitive nature. But I also want to point out some other fun facts about Microsoft. With all the IPs they have purchased recently, biggest one before Activision Blizzard was Bethesda. With the exception of Deathloop, which, by the way, I always found sus that at the Game Awards, Deathloop was up for so many awards in the same year that it came out, like a couple months away from the Game Awards. Oh, big surprise. Microsoft was footing most of the bill for the Game Awards. Oh, never mind. Not surprised anymore. What other major titles do you know came from Microsoft? Or any of their IPs within like the last 2 years? That is not on another platform somewhere else.
Specific to Microsoft?
Yeah.
Because
if you really think about it, their most recent one is Halo. And how many times did that get pushed back? Because the Xbox Series X came out now 2 years ago. Almost. It'll be over 2 years ago. Well, not over, but this year will be 2 years.
Well, and even then, and even then, I love Halo. I love the books. I love the games. But again, the focus is also their PvP. Once you play the storyline a couple times over, you're mostly playing the PvP. That's the most popular part of it. Yes, everybody loves the storyline, but it's mostly PvP.
Games will direct you to that part of the game. Now, I have hope, and I read it. I saw an article and it made me smile that with Sony now owning Bungie, Destiny 3 might actually happen. Because I will say one thing about a good portion of Sony games. Sony, in my opinion, their promotion of PvP is typically fighting games. You say fighting games, most people they're gonna say PlayStation. You don't really, I mean, there's a few who, you know, play it on Xbox, but if you really break it down and you look at the numbers, you say Overwatch, someone's going to say PC, Xbox. You say Street Fighter, you're going to hear PlayStation. You say Tekken, PlayStation. Most of those people, most of their PvP aspect is fighting games, which is a very niche audience. Their second and probably their biggest one is RPGs, single player RPGs, Persona, Sekiro, Horizon before it went, you know, multi-platform. And they have so many. Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, thank you. You know I can't say it very well. I always mess up the damn word. Thank you.
And they were game of the years, top tier games that most of the people that played it on a PlayStation. Yes, they were multi-platform, but let's be honest, most of the people were playing them on a PlayStation. If people didn't love the games that Sony had access to, the PS5 would not still be that hard to get a hold of. The PS5 was hard to get a hold of before the Xbox Series X. Only recently now has the Xbox Series X been like, oh, by the way, yeah, now we're sold out too. Yeah, but how long did that take?
It almost makes me wonder, like, are you really sold out, or are you just trying to look sold out? Because at this point, you took a while.
So
there's my conspiracy.
There's they're trying to do away with the single player experiences across the board. And this scares me with Microsoft scooping up all these studios, because they scooped up Bethesda because Bethesda is well known for single player traveling into multiplayer. They have the success of Elder Scroll Online. So I feel like Microsoft was like, look, we care about single player. See? And we're like, okay, give us a game. They gave Deathloop. I personally haven't played Deathloop. I've heard Deathloop is good, but just as fast as it rose to stardom, it's fallen off the face of the earth. I haven't heard anything about it since. After the Game Awards, poof, gone. But to this day, you still hear about Ghost of Tsushima. Hello? When Elden Ring drops, I'm pretty sure we'll still be hearing about that 5 years from now. So with Sony scooping up Bungie, I see more positive things coming from it. One, I see more games coming from them. Two, I think they're going to reel in how greedy Destiny got. I think they're going to reel that in because Bungie probably went that way with it because they were self-sustaining. They didn't have that backing. It was all on them. When you think about it from that perspective, I get it. Makes sense. You got to make your money somehow when you're a standalone studio. You lost Activision, which, by the way, can we talk about how Activision is like a bad ex hopping in bed with all these different studios? It was Activision Bungie. First, it was Activision by themselves. I think Activision even teamed up with Midway before they went out of business.
Yeah, they did.
So then Activision, you ruined Midway. Then you got in bed with Bungie. You sent Destiny down whatever rabbit hole it decided to never recover from. Left Bungie holding the bag. And then you got in bed with Blizzard. And now all of a sudden you have these legal... Can we...
Which, just to touch on that issue, remember when Activision was first came into being in the 1980s, Activision originally was for Atari, and they left Atari to become their own thing because they did not like the work environment that was Atari.
If that's not,
that is factual information. It is ironic, and you can look it up. That's why they broke away from Atari.
They turn around and do it themselves. What was that line in Batman? You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yep.
We're looking at you,
Activision, we're looking at you.
But now Activision, your sleeping around days are done. You're married.
Yeah, you're married now, bitch.
There's no more bed hopping for you. Yep.
Put a ring on that finger.
Lock that down. But
didn't even give you option, just threw money at you. Like you're let's be honest, you're struggling here. I'll give you a home.
Bungie now will have the backing of Sony. That's some powerful backing. And I think, and here was the thing, a lot of people, I know you guys are probably wondering if you play Destiny, because that was a big, a lot of questions. There's like a 30 question forum that they had to answer of all the players immediately. Is this going to change? Is this going to change? Are you going to do? And they were like, yo, calm down. And I'm paraphrasing. You can find it on Google, or if you go on our Reddit, we'll try to have the link for you up there, of people just asking, like, are all these things going to change about Destiny? And it wasn't like, hey, please change this. It was like, please don't change this. Like, is it going to go exclusive? And they were like, no, nothing is going to change. It's still going to be the game you know. You're all still going to be able to play it regardless of where you play it. We're not changing.
Enter Destiny 2.
Until we decide to drop Destiny 3, then it's a different story. And I think they're going to do it. And you know why I think they're going to do it? Sony, they're going to let Destiny 2, whatever contracts they have, because I'm pretty sure there's contract renewals for these games to stay on the platforms. Microsoft, Sony, they probably have all paid Bungie to keep the game on their platform. Now, Sony has said, hey, come into our family. That's a key word there. You're part of our family now. Bungie's like, okay. And they're like, look, when the contract's up or we go back to the negotiating table, however they conduct this business, they can say, look, you can keep the servers open for Destiny 2. But how about we do this? How about we make Destiny 3 the Halo killer? And they've got the secret sauce.
And it's about high time for a Destiny 3. It's high time for Destiny 3. They've got the
secret sauce because you've got the people that made Halo what it is. And obviously, they rubbed shoulders wrong with Microsoft or whatever. And who knows? Bungie probably accepted that deal because they probably thought, oh, Microsoft will come get us. We made Halo for them. And Microsoft was like, yeah, Activision Blizzard. Yeah. We'll drop 68. We'll drop 68.9 million on you. And Bungie's probably like, bruh, you wouldn't have Halo if it wasn't for us. Hello? So Sony was like, was it Hell Hath No Fury, like a studio score?
I think Halo killer is the wrong word. Yeah. I know where you're coming from. Because Halo being like, we're not about to stop Halo. I don't want Halo to stop. I don't think any of us do. It's great. It's amazing. I love it. But if anyone's going to push out content that can be on par with Halo and be competitive from console to console, Bungie will be able to do it.
They made the secret sauce. And I think we're going to see a repeat of history at an accelerated rate. So back when the PS3 and the Xbox 360 came out, there was a friendly competition between their games, which each side kind of had a winner. When the Gears of War original trilogy dropped, PlayStation's response was Resistance: Fall of Man. That was a good game. That was their Gears of War. And it had the same highs and lows that Gears had. And I played both. I loved both. And I knew what was happening. I was like, okay, this is the tit for tat. And there were several games that came out on both where it was like, this is the tit for tat. Because and they even involved anime. People won't remember. But Xbox had Naruto Rise of a Ninja. But PlayStation had Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm, which was purely focused on the fighting aspect, where Rise of Ninja tried to play on the RPG anime aspect. The fighting was lackluster, but the world was full and lush. You felt like you were in the world of Naruto, but you didn't fight like you were in the world of Naruto. Where Ultimate Ninja Storm had the beautiful anime fights, and you were like, yo, I am fighting like I'm in the world of Naruto. But when you explored it, the world, it was like empty. It was like, okay, you can tell that's not where they put their focus, but let's just get into the fight. And I was like, this was the tit for tat, but Ultimate Ninja Storm ultimately won because it was all fighting, proving where that community was mostly. So the reason I had said Halo killer is because 4-5 years ago, that was not likely. Nothing was going to kill Halo. Halo was on what? Even though people didn't like Guardians, it still sold. It's Halo. You drop a Halo, it's going to sell. However, until Infinite came out, Halo hit a lull period. A very long lull period.
And that's true because I had Halo 4 and 5. I'm sorry, I had Halo 4 and 5. And I also had the Master Chief Collection. And anytime I got online to play PvP, even with 4 and 5, there were times where it would take a long time to find a group to play with. Not always, but as soon as you start getting that, where at any point in day, it's hard to find people to play with. That right there is an indicator of how many people are actually into that game now and how that game is doing.
And I can tell you right now, Bungie has been running Destiny by itself. And as much as people have left Destiny, come back to Destiny, trash talk Destiny, praise Destiny, people still play Destiny. And Destiny 2 has been around for a while. And it hasn't hit a lull. You can find a Crucible match pretty quick. You can find fire teams for strikes pretty quick. Most games are lucky that in their 4th or 5th year, you still have a player base that is that loyal, love it or hate it.
And do you think now that Bungie isn't having to worry about self-sustaining, and they now have the backing, the financial backing of Sony as a whole, that we are going to see way more positive changes going down the road when we start getting into Destiny 3
Destiny
and later
2
expansions
is
versus
it is what it is. Its formula is set. Sony's not going to mess with it. It would cause too much chaos.
maybe more lore heavy, maybe more kind of to the point with some things.
Sony is big on story.
Less, I was going to say Sony games that come from only Sony are definitely lore heavy and story focused. So I hope that's the case going forward once this merger fully happens and they end up coming out with Destiny 3. Is we see a game that isn't pushing out DLCs that feel like a repeat of prior. Which,
to be fair to Bungie, you're one studio handling all of these servers and this still huge player base. Sometimes a reskin is the best you can do, but with that Sony backing, I see Sony going, all right, you can't do that anymore. You got us. What do you need? You've got Sony resources. So I foresee with a Destiny 3 complete overhaul, they probably will fade Destiny 2 out and rebuild it from the ground up, starting everything over. Would that piss people off? Probably, but it needs to happen. It needs a fresh face so you can see the influence Sony has. Push that story. They'll cut back on PvP. It'll still exist, but they're not going to prioritize it, because now that I sit back and think about it, and the fact that Bungie just let this happen, I said, you know what? They probably focus on PvP because the money was there. That was also help keeping them alive, you know. But now with Sony, they can go back to what it was supposed to be about: the story, the lore, teaming up with your friends, and fixing, you know, the world after the collapse. So these are my predictions, for Destiny 3. More story focused, less recycled assets, much heavier DLC, and less paywalls. Because they're really going
into Destiny 3. They're not going to touch the algorithm they have now. It's already set.
It's too established, and it would just throw things out of whack. But I feel like Destiny 3 will be handled a lot better. The story will be progressed a lot better. The systems that they've used that a lot of people haven't liked, you can tell they were experimenting, which is probably why they haven't gone to Destiny 3, because they didn't know what they want to do with it. Sony can come in and be like, all right, well, we'll just figure this out for you. Scrap that, keep that, scrap that. Don't do this, do that, sweep.
Well, the state of the game is like evident for that right now. You can tell that they're kind of in a place where it's like, all right, what do we really do next? Because I say that because if you get on right now and you look at the destinations map, right, and you go to all the planets and everything feels a little bit messy right now. And I know they're between two DLCs, but in the past, you've been able to get on, easily see, okay, there are these many raids. You have to be this level to go to these raids, and there's different levels of that raid you can choose from. They don't have that right now. They're scattered everywhere. It's not as user-friendly and obvious as it was in the past. And I feel like some of that is just a reflection of the messiness at Bungie in that aspect. So, and if anyone disagrees or thinks differently, jump on our Reddit and let us know, because we want to talk about these things with you guys. And everyone has so many different opinions. I've read so much about this. But that's where I stand is I do see that as a reflection of where they're at right now, as far as what is their goal? What are they trying to do
Another
next?
fun fact involving this deal is apparently Bungie wants to become a global, making up my own words here, global,
You're talking like me now.
a global media entertainment company, meaning they want to do things outside of gaming. But nobody knows what those things is, but Sony does, because it came up in, you know, in the articles, like Sony's saying, hey, Bungie wants to do more, which I think is a good move for them, because the more freedom they have to do other things, I think the happier the company will be overall, and the more productive they'll be with their gaming content. Because if they can stretch themselves out and Sony gives them that room to grow under their protection, under their banner, and they do other things, I don't know, maybe they'll develop, because I'll tell you this, if they started saying, hey, we're going to make our own audio equipment for streaming, I'm not going to lie, it would probably catch my interest. I'd be like, Bungie's making, well, they know where it's at. Or they start putting out software to help, like a software engine, like the Unreal Engine. If that's something Bungie does, I'd be like, anything Bungie could do, even outside of gaming, because they have that credibility, would already pique my interest. And now that they want to do that, I'm like, yo, knock yourself out.
And, you know, to me, to honestly, the evidence backing that is, if you look at Bungie as a whole and everything they've done, you don't see quality, or I'm sorry, you don't see quantity under their name. There's not there's not 50 games under their name. There's a handful, but they're all games that are not only really, really good, but they keep the user base. Now, we all have our, like, Destiny. We all have our opinions on Destiny. We've all gone back and forth with Destiny. But at the end of the day, it is quality. Call it what you will. But if it wasn't quality, if it wasn't doing what it was meant to do, it would not still be a game. It would not be a game since 2014, by the way.
To prove your point, it would have died as fast as Anthem did. And Anthem was supposed to be...
Oh, Anthem was supposed to be the answer to Destiny.
It died.
That game... And the clips of it looked good. But the game,
I'm so mad. I even tried to force myself
awful.
Just for my money's worth to play through it. And I'm like, dude, I don't even think anyone plays it anymore. And I'm like, and then here's the worst part. BioWare just walked away from it. They were like, yeah, we can't fix it. We're done.
They ghosted their own game.
I'm like, bro, you can't do that.
Ghosted their own game.
Like, yo, we hear you. We're going to try. And that's all most gamers actually want. Yes, we bitch, we gripe, we complain. We're like, this is broken, that is broken. But you give us stuff, we come back. I said, yeah, I took 2 years off from Destiny and they still got me back. So they have a formula. It's proven to work. But now, like I say, with Sony behind them, some things I think are going to get better. Now, I do have a question. Does Bungie get royalties from Halo?
I honestly don't know. I know on their books, Bungie is not, maybe in the earlier books, but every book I own of Halo, it features 343 Industries and Xbox and Microsoft, but I don't see Bungie's name anywhere on it. So I want to say no. But I honestly, I have no idea.
For a quick refresher, if you know, what was it, a fallout between Bungie and 343? Or was it just like a contractual thing? Because I'm thinking, if Bungie is 50% the creator of Halo, unless there was some legal jargon somewhere that said, you part ways, you get nothing. I'm thinking maybe they get something from Halo, maybe not a lot, because now Sony is making Halo money. Because that's still their creation, or at least part of them.
I know from what I'm reading here, they have absolutely no rights to Halo. So I'm going to assume with that means no royalties as well.
Because I was going to say that would be real sneaky on Sony's part, making some Halo on the sly, making a little bit of Halo pocket change. But no, yeah.
Let's see. In 2007, shortly after shipping Halo 3, Bungie announced its split from Microsoft. The rights to Halo remained with 343 to oversee the Halo franchise. Microsoft created 343 Industries that same year and named after Halo character 343, obviously Guilty Spark. And then Bungie continued making Halo games until Halo Reach in 2010.
So they would be getting some money, because if they have their name on any of that can't just be scratched. Also, let's point out, people started getting disappointed with Halo when Bungie left. This is the first time since Bungie hasn't been involved that people actually have liked a Halo, with the exception of no, this is the first time, because people had complaints about 4. They had tons of complaints about 5. Starting with misleading trailers. And yeah, I think Infinite is the first one since 3 that Bungie wasn't involved in that the community actually liked. Because
Bungie left because they didn't want to keep making Halo games. They just simply didn't want to make
Microsoft
anymore.
was like, oh, we can do it without you.
But under Microsoft, they were only allowed to work on Halo. They were not allowed to work on anyone else. So they let Microsoft basically have Halo, and they left and became like they left and just did their own thing. Because they had contracts with Microsoft. They were working directly with Microsoft. They were not always part of Microsoft. They were their own thing since 1991. And then they merged with Microsoft or partnered with Microsoft, and then they split.
I guess maybe they feel merging again, but with Sony isn't such a bad deal. Because as far as I read, Sony said that they are going to be allowed to do what they want to do as their own standalone.
Honestly, it really just looks like Microsoft used Bungie specifically for Halo, and then when Bungie wanted to do more and impeded on their work, Bungie said no, and then went back to being their own independent studio, and Microsoft got to keep the rights of all that work. So it kind of makes, honestly, it kind of makes Microsoft sound like the douchebag there.
They got the big wallet and they're flaunting it, and we've seen how Microsoft likes to operate when they get a winner. So they took Bungie and was like, all right, you got one job, Halo, keep putting out Halos. But I got to give credit where credit is due. Bungie knew not to milk something that too long. And I think they knew, like, hey, let's just wrap up Halo. Let's just wrap it up. It was good. It was great. It was okay. Let it go. Move on. Because proof is Microsoft, they did the same thing with Gears of War. I don't even think the original developers are actually the ones that made 4, 5, and Judgment. I think Microsoft had someone else do the first 3. I don't think it's the same studios that did all the Gears of Wars. But 1, 2, and 3, phenomenal. Lightning in a bottle. Microsoft couldn't let it go. So they wanted 4, 5, and a Judgment, and how many ever they have to, they wait until one fails, and then they're like, all right, we're done. We're done. It's like they're too scared to try new things.
Here's something for you. Ex-Bungie executive and composer Marty O'Donnell, I know that name because he is he's not only ex-Bungie executive, but he also composed the music for Halo 1 through 3. So he this was years ago. He spoke on the YouTube channel Hidden Xperia. And he explained that the only reason Bungie settled with signing to Activision to create Destiny was to keep the rights, or settled with signing to Activision was to keep the rights to Destiny IP, something that other publishers like Microsoft included would not agree to. And O'Donnell says that Bungie's executives were wary of the deal as soon as they signed up with the Call of Duty publisher. If there's any blame for going to Activision, I'm part of it. We knew it was a risk right from the get-go, and then it turned out to be exactly as bad as we thought it was going to be, O'Donnell told Hidden Xperia. We launched this franchise with Activision naturally, and over the course of time, we both decided we had different goals for what we wanted it to be, so we both went our separate ways.
Of course, that got buried, so Activision still went back out on their street corner.
Yeah, so it sounds like Bungie has really just been trying to do their own thing, make their games in their image, and anytime they seem to work with Microsoft, or I guess Activision as well, or any company, they try to
lock them down.
They try to get in the way. They try to say no. They try to make the calls and make it about money. I don't know. Maybe making about money is a shot in the dark, because Bungie, Destiny 2 really does seem to have a lot of paywall issues. And so I'm not defending Bungie or Destiny as far as like the microtransactions and the paywalls and all that crap. But it sounds like there's a lot of beef between these three companies in regards to Bungie.
Here's hoping that Sony doesn't block them. And I don't see that being a problem. Like I said, I think Sony is about the gamers and they're about their games. So I think Bungie's in good hands. I don't think Bungie would make the same mistake. They've been down the road. They know the warning signs. So,
and consider what people are very outspoken with Destiny right now. And they have been for years about what they want. They want less of certain things. They want more of certain things. That more of certain things is lore, lore and content. They want more storyline. They want more stuff going on than all these million side quests and little side stories that maybe they matter, but they're not important. They want the main lore. What is going on? Where are we going? And they want that focus. And I feel that if anyone's going to be able to deliver that, Sony is. Sony is a lot of things. And if I had their biggest thing is what we just talked about and what you've mentioned a million times already, is the single player games that are story driven. Now, obviously, Destiny is not a single player game, but if anyone's going to be able to give them what maybe Bungie needs, it's going to be Sony. And that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah. So guys, let us know your thoughts on this. This is definitely the start of a lot of bigger things in the last couple of weeks. A lot of big plays have been made. So what are your opinions on this? What do you think is going to happen? Who do you think is going to get scooped up next? I'd love to hear your predictions, because we have plenty of them and they've been coming true. So we would love to know what you guys think. But I will say this. This affects the gaming community as a whole, without a doubt. And I just hope that even if as a consumer or a stock market dabbler, these are things that you definitely want to be paying attention to, because it's going to not only, even if you just are buying games for someone else, you need to know why these game prices are going up, why the market is changing. These are the things that are affecting it, affecting your stocks, affecting what games when your kid comes to you and says, Mom, I need you to buy me a PS5, but you just bought them an Xbox Series X and you're wondering, why do you need a PS5? Play your Xbox. This is why, because games switch platforms. And
you know what? Having this knowledge and understanding how these things work as a gamer gives you a bigger voice. That knowledge gives you a bigger voice when you go out as a community and try to make complaints or make improvements or talk to these studios. Absolutely.
Hit them with the facts that they don't think you know.
Knowledge really is power in that aspect.
So let us know, guys. We definitely want to hear from you, and hit us up on Reddit, hit us up on Twitter. We would love to hear from you guys. Huge thank you to all of our Patreons for your continued support of the podcast and everything we do. And if you guys love the show and you want to support us, you can support us via the Acast website. You can sign up and subscribe, or you can join us over on Patreon, patreon.com/Gamut Games. There are amazing tiers with amazing tier rewards, including exclusive merch that is not sold anywhere, that will be shipped to you guys for pretty much an entire year just for being a Patreon, depending on what tier you sign up at. And I update these merchandise with exclusive looks. Like, we don't sell them, so only the Patreons have them. So make sure you sign up to get yourself some exclusive merchandise. Also, want to officially announce that Jeezy Chop Shop is part of a new brand stream that I've been working diligently on. So when you guys do go to the merchandise shop and you see it, you're going to be like, what is this? We're officially launching the Original Series Network. Because if you guys have been following us, you know we have pretty much our YouTube channel, this podcast, our live streams. We pretty much have a lot of stuff going on. So we are officially launching the Original Series Network, which pretty much will bring together all of our endeavors in one nice, neat little package for you guys to check out. So keep your eyes open for that as our pages update. Some things change. And yeah, it's going to be a great time. A lot of stuff happening in quick succession. So make sure to go check that out. Anyway, you guys have been amazing. Stay safe out there. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. We'll catch all you wonderful people on the next episode. Later, everybody.